Part 1. There was a youth who, as with toil and travel, had grown quite weak and grey before his time, nor any could the restless griefs unravel which burned within him, withering up his prime and goading him, like fiends, from land to land. Not his the load of any secret crime, for naught of ill his heart could understand, but pity and wild sorrow for the same. Not his the thirst for glory or command, baffled with blast of hope consuming shame, nor evil joys which fire the vulgar breast, and quench in speedy smoke its feeble flame, had left within his soul their dark unrest. Nor what religion fables of the grave feared he, philosophy's accepted guest, for none than he purer heart could have, or that loved good more for itself alone. Of naught in heaven or earth was he the slave. What sorrow, strange, and shadowy, and unknown, sent him, a hopeless wanderer, through mankind, if with a human sadness he did groan? He had a gentle yet aspiring mind, just, innocent, with varied learning fed, and such a glorious consolation find in others' joy, when all their own is dead. He loved, and labored for his kind in grief, and yet, unlike all others, it is said that from such toil he never found relief. Although a child of fortune and of power, of an ancestral name the orphan chief, his soul had wedded wisdom, and her dower is love and justice, clothed in which he sate apart from men, as in a lonely tower, pitying the tumult of their dark estate. Yet even in youth did he not e'er abuse the strength of wealth or thought, to consecrate those false opinions which the harsh rich use to blind the world they famish for their pride. Nor did he hold from any man his dues, but, like a steward in honest dealings tried, with those who toiled and wept, the poor and wise, his riches and his cares he did divide. Fearless he was, and scorning all disguise, what he dared do or think, though men might start, he spoke with mild yet unaverted eyes. Liberal he was of soul, and frank of heart, and to his many friends, all loved him well, waiter he knew aught else he would impart, if words he found those inmost thoughts to tell. If not, he smiled or wept, and his weak foes he neither spurned nor hated, though with fell and mortal hate their thousand voices rose. They passed like aimless arrows from his ear, nor did his heart or mind its portal close to those, or them, or any, whom life's sphere may comprehend within its wide array. What sadness made that vernal spirit sear, he knew not, though his life, day after day, was failing like an unreplenished stream, though in his eyes a cloud and burthen lay, through which his soul, like Vesper's serene beam piercing the chasms of ever-rising clouds, shone, softly burning, though his lips did seem like reeds which quiver in impetuous floods. And through his sleep, and o'er each waking hour, thoughts after thoughts, unresting multitudes, were driven within him by some secret power, which bade them blaze, and live, and roll afar, like lights and sounds, from haunted tower to tower o'er castled mountains borne, when tempest's war is levied by the night contending winds, and the pale dalesmen watch with eager ear. Though such were in his spirit, as the fiends which wake and feed an ever-living woe, what was this grief, which near in other minds a mirror found, he knew not, none could know. But on whoe'er might question him he turned the light of his frank eyes, as if to show he knew not of the grief within that burned, but asked forbearance with a mournful look, or spoke in words from which none ever learned the cause of his disquietude, or shook with spasms of silent passion, or turned pale, so that his friends soon rarely undertook to stir his secret pain without avail. For all who knew and loved him then perceived that there was drawn an adamantine veil between his heart and mind, both unrelieved wrought in his brain and bosom separate strife. Some said that he was mad. Others believed that memories of an antenatal life made this, where now he dwelt, a penal hell. And others said that such mysterious grief from God's displeasure, like a darkness, fell on souls like his, which owned no higher law than love. Love calm, steadfast, invincible by mortal fear or supernatural awe. And others, 'tis the shadow of a dream which the veiled eye of memory never saw, but through the soul's abyss, like some dark stream through shattered mines and caverns underground, rolls, shaking its foundations, and no beam of joy may rise, but it is quenched and drowned in the dim whirlpools of this dream obscure. Soon its exhausted waters will have found a lair of rest beneath thy spirit pure. O Athanase, in one so good and great, evil or tumult cannot long endure. So spake they, idly of another's state babbling vain words and fond philosophy. This was their consolation. Such debate men held with one another. Nor did he, like one who labors with a human woe, decline this talk, as if its theme might be another, not himself. He to and fro questioned and canvassed it with subtlest wit, and none but those who loved him best could know that which he knew not. How it galled and bit his weary mind, this converse vain and cold, for like an eyeless nightmare grief did sit upon his being, a snake which fold by fold pressed out the life of life, a clinging fiend which clenched him if he stirred with deadlier hold. And so his grief remained, let it remain, untold. 1. Part 2. Fragment 1. Prince Athanase had one beloved friend, an old man, with hair of silver white, and lips where heavenly smiles would hang and blend with his wise words, and eyes whose arrowy light shone like the reflex of 1,000 minds. He was the last whom superstition's blight had spared in Greece, the blight that cramps and blinds, and in his olive bower at Eno had sate from earliest youth, like one who finds a fertile island in the barren sea. One mariner who has survived his mates many a drear month in a great ship, so he with soul-sustaining songs and sweet debates of ancient lore, there fed his lonely being. The mind becomes that which it contemplates, and thus Zonorus, by forever seeing their bright creations, grew like wisest men. And when he heard the crash of nations fleeing a bloodier power than ruled thy ruins then, O sacred Hellas, many weary years he wandered, till the path of Lyon's glen was grass-grown, and the unremembered tears were dry in Lyon for their honored chief, who fell in Byzant, pierced by Moslem spears. And as the lady looked with faithful grief from her high lattice o'er the rugged path, where she once saw that horseman toil, with brief and blighting hope, who with the news of death struck body and soul as with a mortal blight, she saw between the chestnuts, far beneath, an old man toiling up, a weary wight, and soon within her hospitable hall she saw his white hairs glittering in the light of the wood fire, and round his shoulders fall, and his wan visage and his withered mien, yet calm and gentle and majestical. And Athanase, her child, who must have been then 3 years old, sate opposite and gazed in patient silence. Fragment 2. Such was Zonorus. And as daylight finds one amaranth glittering on the path of frost, when autumn nights have nipped all weaker kinds, thus through his age, dark, cold, and tempest-tossed, shone truth upon Zonorus, and he filled from fountains pure, nigh overgrown and lost, the spirit of Prince Athanase, a child, with soul-sustaining songs of ancient lore and philosophic wisdom. Clear and mild, and sweet and subtle talk they evermore, the pupil and the master, shared, until, sharing that undiminishable store, the youth, as shadows on a grassy hill outrun the winds that chase them, soon outran his teacher, and did teach with native skill strange truths and new to that experienced man. Still they were friends, as few have ever been who mark the extremes of life's discordant span. So in the caverns of the forest green, or on the rocks of echoing ocean hoar, Zonorus and Prince Athanase were seen by summer woodmen. And when winter's roar sounded o'er earth and sea its blast of war, the Balearic fisher, driven from shore, hanging upon the peaked wave afar, then saw their lamp from Lion's turret gleam, piercing the stormy darkness, like a star which pours beyond the sea one steadfast beam. Whilst all the constellations of the sky seemed reeling through the storm, they did but seem, for, lo, the wintry clouds are all gone by, and bright Arcturus through yon pines is glowing, and far o'er southern waves, immovably belted Orion hangs, warm light is flowing from the young moon into the sunset's chasm. O, summer eve, with power divine, bestowing on thine own bird the sweet enthusiasm which overflows in notes of liquid gladness, filling the sky like light. How many a spasm of fevered brains, oppressed with grief and madness, were lulled by thee, delightful nightingale, and these soft waves, murmuring a gentle sadness, and the far sighings of yon piny dale, made vocal by some wind we feel not here. I bear alone what nothing may avail, to lighten a strange load. No human ear heard this lament, but o'er the visage one of Athanase, a ruffling atmosphere of dark emotion, a swift shadow, ran, like wind upon some forest-bosomed lake, glassy and dark, and that divine old man beheld his mystic friend's whole being shake, even where its inmost depths were gloomiest, and with a calm and measured voice he spake, and, with a soft and equal pressure, pressed that cold lean hand. Dost thou remember yet when the curved moon then lingering in the west, paused in yon waves her mighty horns to whet? How in those beams we walked, half resting on the sea. 'Tis just 1 year, sure thou dost not forget. Then Plato's words of light in thee and me lingered like moonlight in the moonless east. For we had just then read, thy memory is faithful now, the story of the feast. And Agathon and Diotima seemed from death and dark forgetfulness released. Fragment 3. And when the old man saw that on the green leaves of his opening, a blight had lighted, he said, my friend, one grief alone can wean a gentle mind from all that once delighted. Thou lovest, and thy secret heart is laden with feelings which should not be unrequited. And Athanase then smiled, as one o'erladen with iron chains might smile to talk of bands twined round her lover's neck by some blithe maiden, and said, Fragment 4. 'Twas at the season when the earth upsprings from slumber, as a sphered angel's child, shadowing its eyes with green and golden wings, stands up before its mother bright and mild, of whose soft voice the air expectant seems, so stood before the sun, which shone and smiled to see it rise thus joyous from its dreams. The fresh and radiant earth, the hoary grove waxed green, and flowers burst forth like starry beams. The grass in the warm sun did start and move, and sea buds burst under the waves serene. How many a one, though none be near to love, loves then the shade of his own soul, half seen in any mirror, or the spring's young minions, the winged leaves amid the copses green. How many a spirit then puts on the pinions of fancy, and outstrips the lagging blast, and his own steps, and over wide dominions sweeps in his dream-drawn chariot. Far and fast, more fleet than storms, the wide world shrinks below, when winter and despondency are past. Fragment 5. 'Twas at this season that Prince Athanase passed the White Alps, those eagle-baffling mountains, slept in their shrouds of snow. Beside the ways the waterfalls were voiceless, for their fountains were changed to mines of sunless crystal now, or by the curdling winds, like brazen wings which clenched along the mountain's marble brow, warped into adamantine fretwork, hung and filled with frozen light the chasms below. Vexed by the blast, the great pines groaned and swung under their load of such as the eagle sees when he dives down from the grey deserts of wide air. Athanase, and o'er his mien was thrown the shadow of that scene, field after field, purple and dim and wide. Fragment 6. Thou art the wine whose drunkenness is all we can desire. O love, and happy souls, ere from thy vine the leaves of autumn fall, catch thee, and feed from their o'erflowing bowls thousands who thirst for thine ambrosial dew. Thou art the radiance which where ocean rolls investeth it, and when the heavens are blue thou fillest them, and when the earth is fair the shadow of thy moving wings imbue its deserts and its mountains, till they wear beauty like some light robe. Thou ever soarest among the towers of men, and as soft air in spring, which moves the unawakened forest, clothing with leaves its branches bare and bleak, thou floatest among men, and I implorest that which from thee they should implore. The weak alone kneel to thee, offering up the hearts the strong have broken, yet where shall any seek a garment whom thou clothest not? The darts of the keen winter storm, barbed with frost, which, from the everlasting snow that parts the Alps from heaven, pierce some traveler lost in the wide-waved interminable snow ungarmented. Another fragment. Yes. Often when the eyes are cold and dry, and the lips calm, the spirit weeps within tears bitterer than the blood of agony trembling in drops on the discolored skin of those who love their kind and therefore perish in ghastly torture. A sweet medicine of peace and sleep are tears, and quietly them soothe from whose uplifted eyes they fall. But another fragment. Her hair was brown, her sphered eyes were brown, and in their dark and liquid moisture swam, like the dim orb of the eclipsed moon. Yet when the spirit flashed beneath, there came the light from them, as when tears of delight double the western planet's serene flame.